guys, what's up? Okay, so I haven't detangled my hair in 2 whole weeks. I wash it every single week with shampoo and conditioner, but I don't detangle it because I don't feel like doing it. Okay, so this is what you do. You have to separate your hair into 4 quadrants. Just really easy, 1, 2, 3, 4. And each of those puffs, you see how it's 4 puffs? Each of those puffs you're going to separate in half, and then in half again, and then in half again. So you're going to have a total of 8 sections that you're detangling per quadrant, and this is really easy, and sometimes 10. That front piece that you're looking at right there, that front quadrant, ended up being 10 because the quadrant are all equal in size because I'm not a robot, so my quadrants are going to be completely equal. Okay, so sometimes you'll have 10, but most of the time 8. I highly suggest 8. So your hair needs to be very wet. That's Slippy conditioner, extra virgin olive oil, and I use a styling product just because, but I was wearing it in wash and go. I really shouldn't have put that styling product in there. You really need to focus on the wetness. Your hair needs to be wet and more saturated with conditioner than you're looking at right there. You need that conditioner. You go through with a wide tooth first, a wide tooth comb first. You're looking at that. And then go through with a small detangling tool. You see how I separated that in half again? Yeah, that was, so 8 to 10 sections you're separating each quadrant. So you're going to do a total of 16 to 20 sections that you're detangling for your entire head. And those small sections are really advantageous and beneficial. You really need to use that. Now, I highly suggest do not use a Denman brush. I don't care if the whole world is going to hail from the top of the mountains and scream and shout. Don't use a Denman, okay? That thing has no give. It totally rips your hair out of your head. Now, I'm using the mini squirt brush. That's the gentlest, nicest hair brush I found for my hair. I'll add a link down below in the description box where you can buy that because it's not totally accessible everywhere, okay? Description box for that. I also suggest if you can't find, if you don't have a brush, just go to the store and get a mini paddle brush. Yes, mini, because a smaller surface area does in fact rip less hair out of your head, and it is advantageous, okay? So now, here, case in point, a big fat knot. Okay, this is really going to help you. Now, when you see the big fat knot in the middle of your hair, you're going to have a loose grip throughout. Everything is loosely held because if you're going to pull tightly, you're going to tighten the knot and it's going to give you problems. So you want to hold everything in a very loose manner and then pull individual hairs from the knot clump. You see, I'm pulling small hairs, sometimes 2 at a time, depending on how tight the knot itself is. But the tighter the knot, the fewer hairs you're going to pull out of that knot. So you're gently pulling as many hairs as possible, but when it gets too difficult, you're going to pull individual hairs, and you're going to see me pull. You see, I'm going smaller and pulling individual hairs out of the knot clump, and you just keep pulling individual hairs out until there's no more hairs to pull out, and then eventually you'll have no more hairs, and then the knot itself will just slip right off, because that knot is really just shed hair and dead hair that's knotted and coiled around the hair itself to create a knot. You're gonna see that knot just slip right off the hair in a second. But yeah, you really want to make sure your hair is really wet and slippy conditioner. Really use that conditioner, saturate it, and that's what's really going to help you detangle. You saw the knot just slip right off there. Eventually, but it is a process. And you see my sections, they're around 1 inch by 1 inch, okay, generally speaking. It's not, the size helps, especially when we're talking about super kinky 4C hair. This is extremely kinky hair. You do not want to try and, let's say, separate and detangle each quadrant in 4. Maybe if it wasn't extremely tangled, you might be able to get away with that, but definitely not with a super tangled 4C thing. Like, I can't get away with that, ever. You see how thick that is? And I'm going to have to separate that further in 4ths, okay? That is going to be 4 sections I'm detangling. Not 2, but 4. I'm going to separate that in half and then separate it again in half. You're going to see me, you see, it's separated in half, and then I'm going to separate it again in half because it was just that tangled. For some weird reason, my looser texture seems to tangle worse and have a more difficult time detangling than my coarser sections. I have no idea why. Like my 4A and 3C tends to be like really just the living hell to detangle, and I don't know what it is. But yeah, my 4Cs don't take that long. I think it's because they don't naturally clump as much together, and I don't know why. That's just my hair. My 4C texture, like true 4C, doesn't really clump and get those mid-shaft knots as badly as my 4A and 3C sections. Who knows why? But yeah, that's the finished product. Pretty much, you're going to detangle. It took me a really long time. Do not leave your hair for 2 weeks, y'all. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later. Later.